prossimo è Robbie Vann Adibe.
Hi. Hi. Good morning. Slides? There we go. So, Robbie Vann Adibe. I'm a Brit. I live in San Francisco. I've been doing the startup thing for over 20 years now. I describe myself as doing angeling now. I work with a lot of early stage companies and provide both capital and, I hope, more importantly, experience to the whole process of building companies. Currently working with a company called Tracker. How many of you have heard of Tracker? Oh, good. We're coming to Europe soon. It's a social influence measurement platform. You give it terms and it tells you who the most influential people on the web are regarding that particular topic. So my topic today, I believe, is probably the most important topic of the day. I'm sure everyone says that. But for me as an investor, and I've been doing this a while, product, market, all important. The most important thing is the team. Because if you get the team right, you can figure anything else out. If you get the team wrong, it doesn't matter if you've got the best product or best market, it won't work. And I've learned this to my cost on many occasions. So I'm going to take you through a bunch of slides here. So first of all, bit of a whatever. These are my opinions. This is my experience. These are not hard and fast rules. It's called roughly the 80% rule, right? You can always find an exception to every point that I put on this slide, but over the years, this is what I've found to be true. So first of all, how many people here have ever started a company? Okay. How many people have started 2 companies? How many people have started 3 companies? How many people have started 4 companies? Okay. And the reason I ask is there's a pattern recognition that comes with doing things many times, as you all know, right? So once you've done things a few times, you start to see patterns in things. So one of the patterns is, ever remember a bad movie called Highlander? All right? There can be only one. Remember that? Actually, there's usually 2. And the other guy usually is never heard of. So everyone knows who Mark Zuckerberg is. Some of you might know who Dustin Moskovitz was, or Eduardo Saverin was if you watch the movie, right? But a lot of times when you're starting these companies, there are always 2, right? Gates and Allen, Jobs and Wozniak. Any of you ever heard of a guy called Bob Miner? Yeah? Right, believe it or not, Larry wasn't the tech guy. Miner was the tech guy, right? So the list goes on, and it holds true in other industry segments other than technology. I'm going to be talking predominantly about the process of building technology teams because that's what I know. But I believe the rule applies to a lot of other industry segments as well. Why? Obviously, well, maybe not obviously. There's very few people on this planet that can do both product and business. The skills are different. I've met a couple of guys over the years who can do both. And some people start as one and then evolve into the other. But typically, you're one of them. You're either a product guy or you're a sales guy. Sometimes the product guys become the sales guys. Very rarely do the sales guys become product guys. Right? And in technology companies, you need both. Because, and again, here I'm talking predominantly about technology companies. Technology companies aren't technology companies. They're a technology plus a business model. Right? So figuring out the 2 pieces of the equation are quite important. Right? So that the product person builds the best product or service that can be done for that minimum viable product thing that was up earlier. And the business person figures out how we're going to get this thing into the market. Or more crudely, as the person who builds and creates it, and the person who sells it. Okay? So, How many people right now are in the process of starting a company? Good. That's good. Carry on. And so you're probably out there trying to build the team. My experience is 9 times out of 10, when you're in the process of building this team, you actually know the people in the team already, right? It's very hard to just go out onto the street, get a resume in the door, just bump into someone and say, this is a person I want to start a company with. Because starting companies is like getting married, right? You're going to be spending a long time with these people, doing a lot of very difficult things, good days, bad days. These have got to be people that you get on pretty well with. And therefore, you probably don't bump into them on the street, although it happens. What typically is the case, though, that it's somebody that you already know. They're a person in your network that you've done work with, and there is no such thing as the perfect partner in a marriage or in a startup company, right? The other person is always going to have flaws. The important thing is to understand what are their flaws and what are their strengths, and do they complement yours? So you might be great in a meeting, but when it comes to writing the document or whatever, you're terrible at it. But the person's great at writing the document, but hates doing meetings, right? So you're kind of always looking for your mirror. I call it the mirror, right? The person who complements you. And the language I'm using sounds a lot like, you know, when you go looking for your significant other. It's an equivalent type process, right? So you've got to find who the folks are. You know, you might be working with them today on something in a different context, and you think, you know what, this is a person I want to start a company with. So that process of exploring what it would be like to work together, you've got to try it out. It's like going out on a date together, right? You've got to see what it feels like, because that notion of being in business together, it's real different just kicking around a few ideas. Once you get in the weeds, this is someone that you've got to understand how they're going to behave when things get tough and things aren't going quite right. Do they freak out? Do they start screaming? Do they go totally quiet? I mean, I've seen all the above happen, right? So work together and figure out what it feels like to work with this person. So you found your significant other to build the team with. Okay, so now there are 2. So now you want to build the team. So I hope there's no HR type lawyers in the room, because I'm going to get sued for everything that I say from here on in, okay? I'm an ageist. I tend to hire people of youth, shall we say, or at least a youthful mindset, right? I've met the youngest people or the oldest people I've ever met. I've met some of the oldest people I've ever met who are some of the youngest people if I ever met, if you kind of know what I mean, right? It's a mindset. But the mindset often goes in tandem with the number of years under your belt. So when I'm hiring, I look to hire for aptitude, not skills. What does that mean? It means someone who can learn and figure things out. Why? Because the way it works today is not the way it's going to work tomorrow. You hire the greatest Java coder in the world, what happens? PHP comes along, right? So this incredible Java guy has now got to code PHP. I've been in the room when that person goes, I don't learn new languages. Guess what? You got the wrong person, right? So you're looking for people with this intent to learn new things. Now, early on, if you go on LinkedIn and look at my resume, it's a car crash, right? I mean, or at least that's what I used to get told. Oh my God, you've worked in a lot of places. Can you hold a job? And the problem was I get bored, right? You know, year 1, figuring it out. Year 2, starting to get good at it. Year 3, starting to get bored, and then like trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. And unfortunately, this ADD mindset is what a lot of technologists and so on have. And so I actually encourage you to look for the patchy resume, right? Look for the person who's done a few different things in succession, because actually that mindset and that skill set is probably more of what you're looking for. I don't hire big names with big titles at big companies. Sorry for those of you in the audience, but they want the big corner office with the secretary and the big salary. And maybe they'll do some work. That's not how startups work. So I always tend to go for the lean, mean fighters. Now again, There are plenty of people I've worked and hired from big companies who have been total exceptions to that rule. Unfortunately, there's a reason it's become a rule for me. So I learned early on, the power behind the throne, right? Some guy stands up and gives a great presentation. You go and chat to him afterwards and you realize he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And you start looking around for the guy that wrote his presentation. That's the guy you want to hire, right? Or gal, forgive me, I keep saying guy, gal as well. Okay, the first 20 hires. When I'm hiring, I always tell people, there's no money in this thing. The room clears immediately. It's a great filter because what you do is you tell people what there is, however, is stock. It's a self-selection process. A long time ago I learned, date the girls that want to date you, not the girls that don't want to date you, right? The same goes for hiring people in technology companies, right? The people that want to do this stuff will self-select. They will say, yes, stock sounds really good. That's what I want. And that is where the upside is. So use the notion of equity in a company as a filter to find the right people. Because if someone walks in the door and says, I want, $250 a year, guess what? They shouldn't be in a startup, right? So there is a mindset and a skill set that belongs in startups. Try and find those people. It's hard to do because people don't think that way a lot, at least here in Italy so far. I've been spending a lot more time in your beautiful country, and the mindset's not here yet. It's coming though. Hopefully this room will help change some of that. So who you hire next? Everyone's like, who do you hire next? It depends on what type of company you're building, right? Once you've got the core skills of someone who knows how to sell it and someone who knows how to build it, then what you start doing is building out the team. 9 times out of 10, once you've got the first two, what I always tell people is find the 10x coder and find the world-class UI person. So someone who can sling code like there was no tomorrow. And in the programming world, we have the concept of 10x coder. It's the notion of someone who can code literally 10 times what the average coder can code. They exist. I've spent time with them. I've watched them code. These people are phenomenal, right? And they're the kind of people that you want in the company on the early day. And the other thing you want is that amazing user experience person. Your hiring process. Over-interview. So when I founded a company called Viant, it was a consultant company, services company. We had a very rigorous process for hiring. On average, you went through 12 interviews, right? Six interviews around skills, and if you made it past the skills interview, then you went through 6 fit interviews, i.e., does this person fit? Well, when you're a 4-person company, you're not doing 12 interviews, but you kind of know what I mean, right? You over-interview. Do not make a mistake. If you get it wrong, this person will kill your company, right? You hire the wrong person at this stage, I guarantee you that person will become a cancer and will kill the company. You've got to be ruthless about who you bring into the company at this point, right? Hire as if each person was going to become a department head. So even if you're hiring an assistant, whatever, hire that person that could become the office manager, the global office manager, and so on. There are countless stories of the early days of Oracle where I worked, where we hired people in at very junior levels who went on to become EVP, whole group. And that was because of this whole notion that this person could grow into and become someone that led the department. I told you about the skills things. Listen to your gut. You ever been in the room, you're talking to someone, and you're just like, oh, I don't know, this doesn't feel right. When you get that feeling, listen to it. Do not hire that person, right? Your gut will tell you when you're talking to the right kind of people. This one's controversial. I live by it. If everyone on the team doesn't agree that you should hire the person, don't hire the person. Everyone's got to agree that this is someone they want to work with. And again, it all gets to this mindset of we're all in it together, we're all selecting the team together, and so on. Marketing, tricky one. Wasn't on my first 4 or 5 people in the group. I usually leave them later. The marketing stuff can come a bit later. The hardest thing is that it's 3 roles in one. It's strategic. Where's the company going? What's our position in the market? Da, 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 da. It's product. What does the product look like? Da, da, da. And then there's we got to tell the world about it. Oftentimes I watch companies try and hire someone that can do all three jobs. It's very rare that someone can do all three jobs. Most people can do 2 of the 3. Right? So oftentimes you split product out, you give strategy and marcom to someone, and then someone else does the product marketing. So in summary, as someone who's been doing this a long time and looked at a lot of opportunities, made a few dollars, euros, whatever, doing this stuff, the idea, always important. You know, that's oftentimes what might get the first meeting, but the team is everything, because you get an average idea with a great team, it's got a shot. You get a great idea but the wrong team, forget it. You're throwing your money away. And with that, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Robbie. I'm going to make questions in Italian, so if you prefer...
Sure,
okay.
sure.
Una curiosità, quanto è facile trovare talenti disposti a partecipare a una startup in equity invece che in cash in Silicon Valley?
Absolutely. In fact, people walking in the door won't even ask you how much salary they're going to make. They go straight for how much equity am I getting in this thing. And again, that is one of the huge delta mindsets between the US and Europe, right? As you know, someone who grew up in Europe, went to the US, did okay. This is one of the fundamental deltas. People don't understand that wealth is created through equity. I don't know anyone who ever got rich on a salary. Well, it's a couple of guys. But, you know, if you want to achieve financial independence, you do it through this kind of exercise. You don't do it by taking a wage. My opinion, sorry.
I agree. Grazie. Domande?
Yeah, question here. You mentioned the first 10, 20 employees. What about the others? Should you keep going, giving equity, or should you stop after the 20th?
My view is you keep going. Clearly, you can't give as much by any stretch of the imagination. Equity steps down, right? There's a risk-reward equation. The folks that come in early on get more. Why? Because they're taking a bigger risk. It's really simple, right? And again, this is something that sometimes we don't always get that clearly in Europe. Yeah, I have a big title, I did a big job before, whatever. Yeah, but you're coming in as employee 300, therefore you get this. The guy who just got out of college but took the risk of joining this thing when it was an early stage startup, he's going to get the big block of stock. So yes, keep going. I believe in equity as the ultimate incentive. By giving everyone in the company equity, you are aligning everybody's goals with the overall goals of the company. You can see it every time in a company. I can almost spot the people that don't have much equity in a business because they don't care.
You mentioned aptitude over skill. What aptitudes do you look for, or what do you consider most important?
It's hard to describe. You know it when you see it. It's that desire to build something, to create, to make something, to take a risk, enthusiasm, complete lack of jadedness, which we in Europe are really bad at doing, by the way. It's this optimistic, can-do anything mindset, and just the words I love to hear coming out of people's mouth are, you know what, I don't know how to do that. How do you do that? And they actually ask you a question that demonstrates, A, they don't know how to do something, B, that they're willing to learn from you to do that. Because when you're in the startup situation, the worst thing that can happen is someone doesn't know what to do, and they blindly just pretend that they know where they're going and what they're doing, and therein lies lots of problems. So it's a touchy-feely answer, but it is kind of a touchy-feely thing.
Basically hire a skydiver.
Enthusiastic skydivers.
Thank you very much, Robbie.
Thank you.